What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel as you come in and check out the content. And with that being said, man, I want to speak on Jalen Hurts, right? And some of the criticism that Jalen Hurts has been taking. Um, well, some of it stems from his ability, the fact that he's not getting AJ Brown the ball. Now they have people coming out and saying that like some of his teammates in his locker room don't really like him, right? And that comes from a guy by the name of Seth Joyner, who was on Jason Whitlock's show. Now, I think that anytime you have some success on a football team or any team, really, like it's about sacrifice. And some people don't like the sacrifices that they need to make in order for the team to be successful. Sometimes, like quarterbacks, they get what some people feel is too much of the credit for the team being successful. And I think the same thing, like what's going on with Jalen Hurts, is what happened with Russell Wilson, right? And the thing about it is, it's like a thin line for a quarterback to like in order to stay make himself like feel like he's a part of the team, like he's one of the fellas, and which I think that Russell Wilson probably didn't do a really good job of that. You know, he tried to separate himself like he was above his teammates. Now, I don't really get that from Jalen Hurts, but I can see how like some players that will cause a rift. Because like I said, sacrifice. You want people, like if Jalen Hurts is getting the big contracts and he's getting all the credit, then quite naturally, other people on the team they see that they want those big contracts. They want to be compensated in a way that shows that because of the success on the team, and that's why it's so hard for teams to win, and then not only win to keep everybody happy because certain people will get mainly the quarterbacks, some and running backs, and sometimes the wide receivers. But a lot of times the quarterback, like I said, gets so much of the lion's share of the credit for that, and then that causes a rift, right? And so, like I said, it's a delicate line. Like a quarterback got to be aware of that, and a quarterback has to know how to manage those type of situations. Like I remember Joe Montana. You never really heard that kind of stuff about Joe Montana, and maybe it was because of the era that they grew up in, right? Or that they played in. But you didn't hear too much of that. Now I did know that like with Terry Bradshaw back in the day, even not even and Terry Bradshaw really wasn't happy with the role that he played on the team. Like he wanted to throw the ball more, right? So even on a winning team, it's hard to keep everybody happy and keep everybody on the same page. And so, but I do want to play and listen to like some of what Seth Joyner says is going on like within the Eagles locker room, and come back and give my comments.
And the team that you cover and follow the closest, I want to start with, are you in hot water? I mean, because some of what you reported earlier this week has driven a lot of the conversation about Jalen Hurts. Are people upset with you?
You know what, man? Listen, I'm like you, man. The reason why we over here on the internet instead of on national TV is because of how we approach this thing. You know, my mama taught me that the truth is like a lion. You don't need to defend it; you just set it free; it'll defend itself. Okay, so I don't work for Jeffrey Lurie and the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't work for anybody anymore. I work for myself. So I have free speech to be able to, report what I want to report and say it the way that I want to say it without there being any repercussions, other than the sponsors that I have, that support me. And, if a sponsor doesn't live by the creed of, the truth is like a lion, then I go and I find sponsors that do. because that's all I can do. If I can't speak the truth, then I can't do this. You know what I'm saying? So I'm in some hot water from the sense that, you've got, people on the internet that's upset and mad with me because they're like, oh, you're tearing down the team. I'm like, wait a minute. The guy that I work with has been in this industry in the Philadelphia area for over 30 years. Okay. Trusted. He is the one that brought this to life. And when people don't realize that, tell them, in order for you to really get, I said, there's a difference between content and context. And anybody who knows me, they know that I am not someone, who's here for clicks. Okay. If you want the full context, go and watch the whole conversation, which means you would have to go and watch our post-game show in order to get it. He brought it up. He said it, Derek Gunn. And what I did was I said, Derek, no. I'm like, not Jalen Hurts. I'm like, because when you look at him, he looks like the perfect quarterback. He says all the right things. He does all the right things. And, he takes accountability. And I said, I'm not believing that. And he looked at me and he looked at everyone that was watching our show and said, trust me. Okay. Now I know he's got connections into that building. Okay. And what he told me when he said that, I said, okay, this is newsworthy. We have to talk about it. The next morning I go on WIP and the question is asked and I answer the question and then people start to lose their mind. So if you're upset, you're upset. You can't get mad at me because the story got out. It's not my job to sit on it. It's newsworthy, so it's worth having a conversation about. Somebody in the Eagles organization wanted this out and they made sure that it got out. It had nothing to do with players. It had nothing to do with Jalen. I love the guy. I think he's a phenomenal athlete, but he's not simply not playing his best football right now, Jason. And am I supposed to, because I used to play for the team and I want the team to be successful.
Let me say this, like, oh, okay, so Seth Joyner is really referring to someone in the organization or on the team said that Jalen Hurts has let all the money and the fame go to his head. That's number one. Then number two, he's referring to, he's saying that Jalen Hurts is not playing his best football right now. So I think, in my opinion, I think when you make money and you have the kind of the kind of success that the Eagles have had, Jalen Hurts has had, then maybe it do change you. You gotta be. I think it changes everybody when you have success, right? That's natural. Now, as far as Jalen Hurts playing, he's playing his best. Like I don't know. I think that it's always a work in progress. They're working towards number one. I think they like 8-2 right now, 8 wins, 2 losses. That's number one. So and the Eagles organization and the quarterback is always they trying to work their way towards the playoffs and get into into playoff form. So I don't really read too much into that. But let me get back to some more of what Seth Joyner is saying about Jalen Hurts.
Same way you want your Kansas City Chiefs to be successful, am I supposed to like put the pom poms on and shake them just because I report on them and I play for them? What happened to the truth about what I'm seeing? So, at the end of the day, people can be mad, they can be upset. It is what it is. If the Eagles didn't want this out, it would not be out.
Go ahead and put, for my audience, restate what is out. What's going on with Jalen Hurts within that building?
We talked about not only the offense, we talked about how Jalen is playing, and obviously, the rift with him and AJ because AJ wants the football. Okay. So Derek said, quote, there are some players in the locker room, as well as some people in the Eagles organization that are not pleased with Jalen Hurts. Now, and this is where I push back. I'm like, you're insane. The dude is the reigning Super Bowl MVP, and he just went to 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years and won one and lost one. Okay. You mean to tell me that the organization is upset with him? Why? Because he's not doing the things the way that they want him to do it. He's kind of doing things the way that he wants to do them. And that's when I began to question. I said, I don't believe that. I said, because at the end of the day, this is a coach's son. He was raised in the game. He played for Nick Saban. Are you kidding me? He played for Lincoln Riley. Are you kidding me? You gonna tell me that this kid, he's come in this building, and because now he got the money, he got the franchise tag, and he's got all the notoriety, that any quarterback would want. Now all of a sudden you're gonna tell me that he's flipped the script? And Derek looked at me and shook his head. He said, "Yep." And I was like, I don't believe it, but I got to take him at his word because I trust the dude.
So, I mean, when I hear that, the one thing referencing Nick Saban, referencing Lincoln Riley, but also remember he lost.
In my opinion, it just sounds like a reach to me, and I want to know like what your opinion is. Like I said, then they say winning cures all, and in every organization, like I said, quarterback is going to have some guys who's kind of jealous, because the quarterback get a lot of the praise for the success that the team had. And it was the same thing with Russell Wilson. But I think that Jalen Hurts is doing a better job than Russell Wilson as far as like keeping himself, like making himself, ingratiating himself and making himself a part of the team. Like if he starts to separate himself, then that'll be one thing, right? Now, as far as it goes with Jalen Hurt, with AJ Brown and not getting him the ball, that's a tough situation, and I do think that they need to make ways to get AJ Brown more involved in the offense, right? But even like, and I go back to the days, like I said, when the Pittsburgh Steelers had their, they was on their Super Bowl teams with the Terry Bradshaw, Lynn Swann, and all those guys. They didn't throw a lot. Lynn Swann still got his praise. The other wide receiver was John Stallworth. He still got the praise and the respect that he was due. And it probably was frustrating for them too, because the Steelers ran the ball. Terry Bradshaw wanted to throw the ball more, but the coach Chuck Noll didn't want to throw the ball. They was having success getting to Super Bowls running the football with their we had Rocky Blyer was the running back, and then they also had Franco Harrison was Rocky Blyer and Franco Harrison in the backfield, right? So if the team is winning, I think at some point you have to put the team first. Like, it's not that people don't know that AJ Brown is an excellent wide receiver, and quite naturally he want to put his skills on display as often as he, but then it got to be a point to where the team comes first, where you put winning first. Would I I would have to ask AJ Brown, like, would you prefer to be on a team that's losing and you putting up Hall of Fame type stats? Like the guy who played in Detroit, Megatron, he was an excellent wide receiver, but they never won anything while he was there. Would he have sacrificed some of his stats and some of the accolades that he received to be on a winning team? So that's the thing that you want to, you got to look at it that way when you're a wide receiver or when you are part of an organization that's winning, And so, like I say, I feel like Jalen Hurts, as long as you on a football team, it's 50 something guys. You're not going to be close to everybody on the team, but you do, I think, have to make an effort to ingratiate yourself with your teammates and let everybody know that you part of the, you part of the team. You one of the fellas, you hear about quarterbacks buying their buying their linebackers. Their offensive linemen like watches and giving them different gifts and stuff like that, just to show your appreciation to your offensive linemen, man. Because if it wasn't for them, the running back wouldn't have no success. The quarterback wouldn't be able to throw. you know, so you gotta spread that as a quarterback. You gotta spread that, you know, spread the wealth and give some credit to those guys, because if you don't, then you know it will create jealousy. You know, you're getting a big paycheck, and then on top of that, you're getting all the credit. And for some reason, I don't see Jalen Hurts the same way. You know, you know that they see Russell Wilson. So that's my take on it, man. Y'all make sure to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, man, I'm gonna check you all out in the next video. Peace.